Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is the 27th episode of the summary of the Quran, and we started doing the sixth group of Quranic surahs from session 25th onwards. This group is comprised of 17 surahs, 7 of which were Meccans and 10 of which are Madanan. We've already done the first 4 Madanan surahs, and tonight I'm going to do the next 6 Madanan surahs of the 6th group, starting from Surah As-Saf, surah number 61, till Surah At-Tahrim, surah number 66. The first 2 surahs, Surah As-Saf and Surah Al-Jum'ah, they together form a pair, as indeed most Quranic surahs we have seen are in pairs. In the first surah, Surah As-Saf, what we find is that the Almighty is telling the weak believers who were avoiding doing jihad that they should correct their attitude and not do what they have been doing. In the second surah, what we find is that the same weak believers who were bordering on hypocrisy are being urged to follow the messenger, may God's mercy be on him, sincerely, or else they will fall into the pit of hypocrisy. We start with Surah As-Saf, surah number 61. I read the first few verses. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Sabbaha lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. Whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth, on the earth, they all are exalting the Almighty, doing His tasbih, that is, declaring Him free from all kinds of weaknesses and flaws. Wahuwal Azizul Hakim, and He is exalted in might and wise. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, believers, lima taquluna ma la taf'alun. Why do you say what you don't do? Kabura maqtan indallah. God hates this attitude, an taqulu, that you say something, ma la taf'alun, that you don't do. Inna Allaha yuhibbul lazina yuqatiluna fi sabilihi. God loves those people who fight in His way, saffan, in a way that they are all disciplined, standing in rows, ka'annahum bunyanum marsus, as if they are a single structure joined firmly. You claim to be believers. God is asking you through His messenger to fight against the enemies, and you are avoiding it. Don't do that. If you are believers, be true to your words. The next verse 5 is saying, وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ. A reference to history is mentioned. Recall the time when Moses said to his nation, Ya qawmi, O my nation, lima tuzunani, why do you cause distress to me? Why are you causing harm to me? فَقَدْ تَعْلَمُونَ أَنِّي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ إِلَيْكُمْ. Even when you know that I am God's messenger sent to you, and yet you are ignoring me and causing difficulties for me. فَلَمَّا زَاغُوا. And when they turned away, when they deviated, أَزَاغَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبَهُمْ. God deviated, twisted their hearts. That is, their wrong actions caused their hearts to be twisted, to be hardened. وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الْفَاسِقِينَ. And God doesn't guide the people who are defiantly disobedient. Then we move on to verse 6, which says, وَإِذْ قَالَ عِيسَى ابْنُ مَرْيَمَ. Another reference is mentioned of Jesus Christ. And imagine the time when Jesus, the son of Mary, said, Ya Bani Israel, O children of Israel, Inni Rasulullahi ilaykum. I am God's messenger for you. Musaddiqan lima bayna yadayya min at-Tawrat. I am confirming what's already there before me in Torah, that is, in the form of prophecies that were there regarding my arrival. I have come as somebody who's confirmed those prophecies. وَمُبَشِّرًا, and I am the one who is giving good news. بِرَسُولٍ, of a messenger, يَأْتِي مِن بَعْدِي, who is going to come after me. Ismuhu Ahmad, his name is going to be Ahmad. It's one of the two famous names of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فَلَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ, then when he came with clear signs, that is, the Prophet prophesied, قَالُوا هَذَا سِحْرٌ مُبِينٌ, they said, it's a clear magic. It's something which is nothing but magic, and a very obvious magic. Finally, we go to verse 10 onwards of this surah, where the Almighty is inviting believers, particularly the weaker ones, to do jihad in a very effective way. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, believers, hal adullukum, should I not tell you, ala tijaratin, about a trade, tunjikum min azabin alim, which is going to save you from a painful punishment. If you will have a deal with me, the Almighty is telling believers, then if you do your part of the deal, I promise that I am going to save you from the painful punishment which is otherwise going to overcome you, overwhelm you because of the wrong attitude of yours. What is that deal? تُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ, believe in God properly and His Messenger. وَتُجَاهِدُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ بِأَمْوَالِكُمْ وَأَنفُسِكُمْ, and strive, struggle and fight in the way of God with your wealth and with your own selves. ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ, it's going to be better for you if you only knew. يَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ, what's going to happen is that as a consequence, He, that is God, is going to forgive your sins. وَيُدْخِلْكُمْ جَنَّاتٍ, and He is going to cause you to enter the gardens, تَجْرِي مِن تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ, underneath which rivers shall be flowing. وَمَسَاكِنَ طَيِّبَةً, and as a consequence you are going to get dwellings pleasant, impressive. فِي جَنَّاتِ عَدْنٍ, in the gardens of eternity. ذَلِكَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ, this is a great victory, great achievement. وَأُخْرَى تُحِبُّونَهَا, and you will have another achievement that I am promising you, which you like, you love. I'm not interested in it, but you like it. And what is that? نَصْرٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَفَتْحٌ قَرِيبٌ, victory from God and an imminent conquest. Conquest in this worldly life, round the corner, very soon. وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and O Prophet, give the good news to these believers. We move on to the next surah, which is Surah Jummah, which, as I said, is the partner surah of Surah As-Saf, wherein in the first two verses the Almighty is saying, يُسَبِّحُ لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ, whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth, they are all exalting the Almighty, declaring Him free from all weaknesses. The God Al-Malik, who is the sovereign, Al-Quddus, the pure, Al-Aziz, the exalted in might, Al-Hakim, the wise. It is this wise, mighty God who has هُوَ الَّذِي بَعَثَ فِي الْأُمِّيِّينَ, it is He who has sent amongst the unlettered people, that is, the children of Ismail, who were called Ummi, unlettered, compared to the children of Israel, who had a background of books, knowledge of God's revelation. So this time round, the Almighty has sent a messenger to these unlettered people. What He is doing is, He is amongst them, from amongst them. يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ, He is reciting before them His verses, وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ, and purifying them and raising their status in morality and spirituality. وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ, and He is teaching them the law and wisdom. وَإِنْ كَانُوا مِنْ قَبْلُ لَفِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ, even though before He came, before this happened, they were in clear misguidance. Then we move on to verse 5 of this surah, wherein the Almighty is warning these children of Ismail who were given the privilege of having a messenger, the last messenger of God, coming from within their ranks. The Almighty says, مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ حُمِّلُوا التَّوْرَاةَ. The example of those people who were given the responsibility of Torah, that is Jews. ثُمَّ لَمْ يَحْمِلُوهَا. And then they did not properly take up that responsibility. كَمَثَلِ الْحِمَارِ. Their example is that of a donkey. يَحْمِلُ أَسْفَارًا, who is carrying the burden of books on his back. He has no idea what burden is that, whether these are books or bricks or any other load, it's just the same for him. بِئْسَ مَثَلُ الْقَوْمِ الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ. So the same is the case with these people who were given the book of God, Torah, but they were not taking the responsibility of it. Evil, bad is the example of the people who have denied and rejected God's verses. وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. And God doesn't guide those people who are zalim, unfair, wicked, evil. We move on to the last few verses of this surah, which is verse 11 onwards. The Almighty says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, believers, Iza nudiya lis-salati min yawmil jum'ah. Believers, therefore, now follow your Prophet sincerely. And therefore, Iza nudiya lis-salati min yawmil jum'ah. When there is a call made for prayers on Friday, fas'aw ila zikrillah, then you rush towards God remembrance, wazarul bay, and leave aside all worldly activities and trade. Zalikum khairul lakum in kuntum ta'lamun. This attitude, approach is going to be better for you if you only knew. Faiza qudiyatis salat, then when the prayer finishes, fantashiru fil ard, you spread across on earth, wabtaghu min fadlillah, and search for the bounty of the Almighty. That is, do your business, which is God's bounty. It's His kindness that He enables you to earn, and you look for different ways of having provisions for you. Waskurullaha kathiran. But while you are doing all that you do for your earnings, you remember God in abundance, la'allakum tuflihun, so that you are successful. وَإِذَا رَأَوْا تِجَارَةً. But what has happened is that in the case of some of you, when they see some trade caravan coming, أَوْ لَهْوًا, or some other activity where people are enjoying their lives and they're doing something which diverts them towards a sport or some other activity instead of praying to the Almighty at the time of Friday prayers, what they do is that in fadhu ilayha, they move towards it, وَتَرَكُوكَ قَائِمًا, and leave you, O Prophet, standing, delivering khutbah. Qul, tell them, مَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, what is with God, خَيْرٌ مِّنَ اللَّهْوِ وَمِنَ التِّجَارَةِ, it is far better than these diverting activities and trade. وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الرَّازِقِينَ, and God is the best provider. He's the best in giving provisions to His creatures, to His human servants. We now move on to the next two surahs, which again form a pair, which are Surah Al-Munafiqun, Surah number 63, and Surah At-Taghabun, Surah number 64. While Surah Al-Munafiqun, in it, believers are told to beware of the hypocrites. The title of the surah itself is suggesting that. In Surah 64, At-Taghabun, the believers are informed that now that, the expectations of belief are getting more stringent, you will have enemies within your families, in your wives and children. And you should also spend wealth in the way of God so that your faith continues to remain intact. So I read the first 3 verses of Surah Al-Munafiqun first. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا جاءك المنافقون. O Prophet, when hypocrites come to you, قالوا نشهد إنك لرسول الله. They say, we testify the fact that you are the messenger of God. الله يعلم إنك لرسوله. God knows that you are his messenger. وَاللَّهُ يَشْهَدُ. And God gives testimony of the fact, إِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ لَكَاذِبُونَ. These hypocrites are liars. اتَّخَذُوا أَيْمَانَهُمْ. They are making their oaths junnatan, shields. That is, they defend themselves against all possibilities of doubts regarding their attitude towards Islam by reciting the kalma and promising and taking oaths that they are on the right track, they are Muslims. فَصَدُّوا عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. And as a consequence, they divert people away from the path of God. They stop people from coming close to God's way. إِنَّهُمْ سَاءَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Indeed, evil is what they are doing. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ. This happened because they became hypocrites because بِأَنَّهُمْ آمَنُوا. They believed. ثُمَّ كَفَرُوا. And after their belief, they disbelieved. It's not that they didn't come to learn about the truth of God's message. They learnt about it. They were impressed by it. Their hearts confirmed that it's from God. And yet, because of the worldly temptations, they disbelieved. فَطُّبِعَ عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ. So their hearts were sealed. فَهُمْ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ. And now they don't understand. We move on to verse 7, wherein the Almighty is mentioning about the attitude of a group of hypocrites who went outside Medina on a mission along with Muslims, because they were Muslims for all official purposes. So there was an expedition where they went for, and there were these hypocrites along with their chief Abdullah ibn Ubay, who delivered this message, this speech. هُمُ الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ. They are the ones who say, لَا تُنْفِقُوا عَلَى مَنْ عِنْدَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. Don't spend on these people who are in the company of the Messenger of God. حَتَّى يَنْفَضُّوا. Until they disperse. They are disbanded. وَلِلَّهِ خَزَائِنُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And God says in response that to God belong the treasures of the heavens and the earth. وَلَكِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ. But these hypocrites, they don't understand. And then it goes on to say, يَقُولُونَ. These people say, لَإِنْ رَجَعْنَا إِلَى الْمَدِينَةِ. If we return to Medina, لَيُخْرِجَنَّ الْأَعَزُّ مِنْهَا الْأَزَلِ. Then those who are honored, people with honor, that is, these hypocrites, rich people, they will expel those al-az who are humble, who are weak, who are not of honor. And obviously, it included the Prophet of God, may God's mercy be on him as well. وَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةُ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Even though it was a Madinan surah, the Almighty didn't ask believers to just kill them, get rid of them. The Almighty is responding to what they said. وَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةُ. All honor belongs to God. وَلِرَسُولِهِ. And to his messenger. وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And the believers. وَلَكِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But these hypocrites don't know. They don't know the real, true status of these believers. Finally, the Almighty is instructing in verses 9 to 11. The believers are informed that they have to behave in the right way for them to stay away from hypocrisy. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu Believers, la tulhikum amwalukum wala auladukum an zikrillah. Let not your wealth and your children take you away from remembering God. فَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ, whoever does it, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْخَاسِرُونَ, they are the ones who are going to be the losers. وَأَنْفِقُوا, and spend مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ, from what we have given you in the form of provisions. مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يَأْتِيَ أَحَدَكُمُ الْمَوْتِ, before death approaches any one of you. فَيَقُولُ, and then he should say, رَبِّ لَوْلَا أَخَّرْتَنِي إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ قَرِيبٍ, O God, why are you not extending, delaying my death for a certain while? فَأَصَّدَّقَ, so that I may spend during this while, وَأَكُمْ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ, and become amongst the righteous people. وَلَنْ يُؤَخِّرَ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا, God is certainly not going to delay and extend the stay of any soul. إِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُهَا, when its time of leaving comes. وَاللَّهُ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ, and God is fully aware of what you are doing. The partner surah of Surah Munafiqun, as I said, is Surah Taghabun. Here it's the hypocrites who are talked about more. In Surah Taghabun, there is a discussion of weaker believers, and they have been informed that there are challenges out there for them. If they meet them, they'll be able to save their faith. I read the verses 2 to 4. The Almighty says, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُمْ, He is the one who created you. God created you. فَمِنْكُمْ كَافِرٌ وَمِنْكُمْ مُؤْمِنٌ. Some of you are disbelievers, others are believers. Don't you see? God has given intellect to everybody, opportunities to everyone to know what the truth is and to follow it. But because He has also given freedom to everyone to exercise, and this life is tempting, it has glamour. Some people choose to be kafirs, disbelievers, others choose to be believers. That's what shows that we are not robots. It's not happening mechanically. We have been made humans who have choice to exercise. Wallahu bima ta'maluna basir, and God watches what you do. خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ بِالْحَقِّ, He has created the heavens and the earth for a purpose. وَصَوَّرَكُمْ, and He has given you your features, your faces. فَأَحْسَنَ صُوَرَكُمْ, and how good has He made your form. وَإِلَيْهِ الْمَصِيرُ, and to Him is going to be the return of everyone. يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, don't forget that He knows what is in the heavens and what is on the earth. وَيَعْلَمُ مَا تُسِرُّونَ وَمَا تُعْلِنُونَ, and He knows what you do in the hiding, secretly, and what you do openly. وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ, and God knows what's hidden there deep inside your hearts. He knows your intentions as well. After giving this clear understanding to the believers, more particularly the weak believers, the Almighty, going a few verses later, is telling believers, especially the weaker ones, who would make excuses because of the difficulties that they were facing, particularly the calamities that they would face, and would say that, we cannot perform well because life is tough. There's so many things that have happened against our expectations. So why should we do what you're asking us to do? The Almighty says, Ma asaba min musibatin. Look here, no disaster strikes illa biiznillah, except by God's permission. God has chosen this life to be what it is. It's a test and a trial. And you are sometimes tested by being confronted with situations which are unpleasant. But nothing happens without God's leave, His permission. وَمَنْ يُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ يَهْدِي قَلْبَهُ, and whoever believes in God properly, He guides his heart. That is, in the wake of difficulties, tough times, unpleasant situations, the Almighty guides those people who are true believers, and they get satisfaction, conviction, contentment, despite the fact that they are going through difficulties. Wallahu bikulli shayin alim, and God is fully aware of everything. He knows who is a believer, true believer, and who is not. And the true believers are given this tremendous privilege by the Almighty that He guides their hearts. Next verse says, "Wa atiullah Rasul." Therefore, no matter what, you be obedient to God and be obedient to the Messenger. Fa'in tawallaytum, and beware, if you are going to turn your backs and run away, فَإِنَّمَا عَلَى رَسُولِنَا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ, then be sure that the only responsibility of our messenger is to deliver the message clearly. It's actually a stern warning which is implied here. He will have done his job, and then the Almighty says, we are going to take over and we'll take you to task. So be obedient and do what you've been asked to do, and don't be deterred by some unpleasant happenings. They are a part of the trial of this life. Allahu la ilaha illahu, God, Allah, there is no deity, there is no entity worthy of worship except Him. Wa ala Allahi falyatawakkalil mu'minun, and on God, therefore, believers should put their trust. When He is the one who gives good times and bad times, and there's nobody else who has the authority, the power to cause good happenings or bad times to come to an individual, then let's trust the one who is created us and who is running the affairs of this world. Then we move on to verse 14, wherein the Almighty is saying, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, believers, inna min azwajikum wa auladikum aduwwan lakum. Now that the situation is getting tough and the demands from believers are getting higher in expecting them from them to put up with the situation, difficult situations that they are being given to confront. Believers, amongst you, in your spouses, wives, and in your children, there are your enemies. There are people who have not accepted faith properly. فَاحْذَرُوهُمْ, beware of them, be careful. وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَصْفَحُوا وَتَغْفِرُوا, but if you pardon them and overlook and forgive, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ, then be sure that God is forgiving and merciful. That is, God doesn't want you to have a tense atmosphere at home. He doesn't want you to fight with your family members. He's just making you aware of the fact that there are challenges within your families, and it's a part of the trial of this life. So be careful and protect your faith. The next verse says, Innama amwalukum wa auladukum fitna. This is happening because your wealth and your children are only a trial. Wallahu indahu ajrun azim, and God with Him is a tremendous reward. So always look forward to having that reward. Fattaqullah. So be conscious of the presence of God, mastatatum, as much as is possible. Strive to become God conscious as best as you can. Wasma'u wa ati'u, and listen and obey. Wa anfiqu, and spend. Spend your wealth. Khayran li anfusikum, it's going to be good for you. Wa man yuqa shuhha nafsihi, and whoever is able to be protected from the stinginess of his soul, miserliness of his soul, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ, they are the people who indeed are going to be successful. After this, we move on to the third pair that we are to do tonight, which is verses Surah 65 and 66, Surah At-Talaq and Surah At-Tahrim. These two surahs put together, they form a pair, and the idea is that is put across is that we should be balanced in the manner we conduct ourselves in our families. So two extremes have been talked about. In Surah Talaq, it's one extreme when the spouses have decided to part ways. The Almighty wants that even in that scenario, they should behave within the boundaries of decency and Sharia. While the other scenario is that the spouses are so close to each other, so loving, that they forget about the Almighty's boundaries. There again, the Almighty would want that they should be careful about God's expectations. So let's take the first surah first. It's Surah At-Talaq. I read the first verse. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها النبي, O Prophet, إذا طلقتم النساء, when you believers you divorce your wives, فطلقوهن لعدتهن, then you divorce them taking into account, making arrangements for you considering the period of iddat, the waiting period. وَأَحْصُلْ عِدَّةً, and do keep a count of waiting period. Make sure that when you divorce, you do it properly. You should not just do it abruptly. You should not start pronouncing talaq over and over again. That's not valid. That's not the way the Almighty has prescribed. Say your talaq the way it has been recommended. That is, keep into consideration the waiting period. It should be given to a wife when she is in her clean period, because subsequent counting of the waiting period is going to be based on menses. So do it and count those periods properly. Wattaqullah, and be God conscious. Rabbakum, conscious of your God who is your Lord. La tukhrijuhunna min buyutihinna, don't expel them from their homes. Your home is their home until such time that divorce gets completed. Wala yakhrujna, nor should they themselves opt to move out of the homes. Illa an yatina bifahishatin mubayyina, except that they come up with obscenity, clear obscenity. That is, except that they are found indulged in zina, extramarital sex. وَتِلْكَ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ, these are the boundaries of God. وَمَنْ يَتَعَدَّى حُدُودُ اللَّهِ, and those who go beyond the boundaries of God, who violate the restrictions of the Almighty, فَقَدْ ظَلَمَ نَفْسَهُ, they are unfair to themselves. And there are so many people amongst Muslims who are violating this clear understanding of the Almighty, and nobody is concerned. La tadri, you never know. لَعَلَّ اللَّهَ يُحْدِثُ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ أَمْرًا, that God may bring about something different in this matter. You never know. The husband might reconsider his decision. The next verse 2 says, فَإِذَا بَلَغْنَا أَجَلَهُنَّ, and when these divorced wives reach the end of the waiting period, فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ فَارِقُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ, it's up to you whether you part with them the way it's accepted as a norm in the society, that is in a good manner, or you keep them with you, amsikuhunna, according to what the norms of the society are, in a good way, respectful way, aw fariquhunna, or part with them bimaruf, according to what is acceptable in the norms of the society. Wa ashhidu zawai adlim minkum, and have two witnesses there who are fair witnesses with you at that time. Wa aqimu shahadata lillah, and you should have this witnessing done for the sake of God. Zalikum yu'azu bihi, this instruction is given to you, whoever man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir, whoever amongst you believes in God and the life hereafter. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا, and whoever is conscious of God's presence, He is going to show the way for him. More particularly, this is ladies who are being divorced, they are being comforted. God will make for them a way out. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ, and will provide for them from where they would not even expect. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ, and whoever is relying on God, فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ, he should know that God is going to be sufficient for him. إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَالِغُ أَمْرِهِ, God has full capacity of accomplishing His goals, His purposes. قَدْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدْرًا, and God is the one who has made sure that he has planned everything. He has made planning for everything that he has decided to do in this life. Towards the end of the surah, Surah At-Talaq, what we find is that he is talking about in verse 12 the fact that Allahu allazi khalaqa sab'a samawatin. God is the one who has created the 7 heavens, وَمِنَ الْأَرْضِ مِثْلَهُنَّ, and likewise he has made earths. Likewise the earth similar to them. That is, like there are 7 skies, 7 heavens. We don't know exactly what it means. All that we know is that the sky that we can see from here through our naked eyes or through all the telescopes that we have with us, it's the first sky. There are 6 more skies beyond them. The living possibility of this planet is what there is to be found in the other 6 skies as well. That's what's God's great creation, vast expanse that he has created. يَتَنَزَّلُ الْأَمْرُ بَيْنَهُنَّ. He reveals his commandments between them. لِتَعْلَمُوا, so that you can know, أَنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ, that God has control over everything. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ أَحَاطَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عِلْمًا, and that his knowledge encompasses everything. We move on to the next surah, Surah Tahrim, which is a partner surah of this one. And in this surah, the first 2 verses say, Ya ayyuhan nabi, O Prophet, lima tuharrimu ma ahallallahu lak. Why do you make things prohibited, haram for yourself, which God has made allowed, permissible? That is, you don't have to tell your wives that if you don't like certain things that I'm consuming, I'll not consume them. No, you are God's prophet and you are the ideal, the model for the rest of the ummah. So therefore, don't prohibit for yourself what the Almighty has allowed for you. Tabtaghi mardata azwajik. Is it that you do it for the pleasure of your wives? Wallahu ghafurur rahim. That's not correct. But God is forgiving and merciful. Qad faradallahu lakum tahillata imanikum. Go and break your commitment. And God has given you the way, shown you the way how to dissolve your oaths, your promises. Right. It's mentioned that you feed 10 poor people, and the promise that you've made, which was not meant to be made in the first place, it's not going to be a reason for you to be blamed if you break them and do this to expiate. Then we move on to verse 6 and 7. The Almighty says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. It was a mention about wives and being too inclined, over inclined towards them. Now he's talking about the entire family. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, believers, qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. Save yourself and your family members from the fire of hell. Waquduha an-nasu wal hijara, whose fuel is going to be either humans or those stones which they used to worship. Alayha malaikatun. There we have appointed such angels, ghilazun shidadun, who are harsh and severe. La yasun Allah ma amarahum. They do not violate what the Almighty asks them to do. Wa yaf'aluna ma yu'marun, and they do whatever they are required to do. Ya ayyuhallazina kafaru. On that day it would be said to the disbelievers, O you who disbelieved, la ta'tazirul yawm, do not bring excuses to us today. Innama tujzauna ma kuntum ta'malun. You are being punished, recompensed only for what you used to do. So blame, if you want, yourselves only. Towards the end of this surah, the Almighty is giving the examples of certain women and clarifying that whether you belong to a bad family or a good family doesn't matter. It's your conduct, whether you are men or women, your own personal conduct, which is going to decide as to whether you are going to be successful or unsuccessful in the eyes of God. ضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. God presents an example of those who disbelieved. For them, Imra'ata Nuhim wa Imra'ata Lut. The examples of the wife of Noah and the wife of Lot. كَانَتَا تَحْتَ عَبْدَيْنِ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا صَالِحَيْنِ. They were under two of our righteous servants. That is, there were wives of two of our prophets. فَخَانَتَاهُمَا. So what happened was that they betrayed them. فَلَمْ يُغْنِيَ عَنْهُمَا مِنَ اللَّهِ شَيْئًا. So their companionship is not going to help them at all. وَقِيلَ ادْخُلَا النَّارَ مَعَ الدَّاخِلِينَ. And it will be said to them, you enter the fire, the hellfire, along with those others who will enter the hellfire. فَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. And God gives the example for the believers. The example of Imra'ata Pharaoh, the wife of Pharaoh, is قالت, when she prayed, رَبِّ ابْنِ لِي عِنْدَكَ بَيْتًا. Oh God, please make a house for me close to you, fil Jannah, in the paradise. وَنَجِّنِي مِنْ فِرْعَوْنَ وَعَمَلِهِ. And save me, rescue me from Pharaoh and his evil acts. وَنَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. And rescue me from the wrongdoings of evil people, unfair people. And he also gives the example of Maryam ibnata Imran, Mary, the daughter of Imran, allati ahsanat farjaha, who guarded her chastity. فَنَفَخْنَا فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِنَا. So we breathed into her our soul, our breath. وَصَدَّقَتْ بِكَلِمَاتِ رَبِّهَا. And she believed in properly and confirmed the words of the Lord that were given to her. وَكُتُبِهِ. And confirmed the books and scriptures. وَكَانَتْ مِنَ الْقَانِتِينَ. And she was amongst the devoutly obedient servants of God. May the Almighty enable us to understand His message correctly and properly, and may He give us the inclination to follow it as best as is possible.